Now, hey
All
guys.
right.
Hello everyone. A very big good evening to you. Yeah, I'm so excited to have you guys on here. So very much excited. So those of you who know me already, my name is Justice H. Memo, or you could call me Facet. That also works. So yeah, I'm going to be collaborating on this with Misim. Those of you who were here early enough, I've met Misim already, told you his name. But I'm still going to let him introduce himself again. So Misim, you have the floor. What do you want to tell us about yourself?
What's going on, everyone? Yeah, so my name is Missim. I live in Belgium. I'm from the UK originally. So basically, just a bit about myself. So I run a marketing agency. Been doing like digital marketing and offering services around digital marketing for like 7 years now. Working with some decent clients, like 6-7 figure clients. We help them with all kinds of stuff when it comes to online marketing, whether it be like paid ads, creating websites, copywriting, all kinds of things of that nature. And so I've been doing this for like 7 years now, and I've had a decent amount of success. Like I run a 6-figure agency, which is really cool, and get to work with some pretty amazing clients all over the world. I mainly work with English speakers, so a lot of clients from UK, US, Australia, some from New Zealand as well. And when Justice invited me to speak, and we were kind of brainstorming like what kind of topics we're going to talk about. Definitely was like about motivation and overcoming things, because that's been like a big theme in my life and a lot of people's lives as well. And I feel like I'm pretty good motivator. And so, yeah, I guess that's what we're going to cover today. So I'm happy to be here. It's definitely, I feel like it's going to be more of a chilled session because I didn't like prepare any topics up front. And so, yeah, that's a bit about myself.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. That's amazing. I actually appreciate it. So, Mr. Have you been to Nigeria before, or do you have plans to visit Nigeria anytime?
Yeah, so we talked about this. I've never been to Africa in general, right?
Okay. That's nice.
So Nigeria, obviously, I haven't been there too. We did talk about this, but yeah, I'd love to visit one day. I'd love to obviously meet you personally. It would be cool. I've heard good things, obviously, from what you told me, and yeah, I'd love to visit someday. Sure.
Yeah, that's nice. Thank you so much. So the main reason why we actually did this call, like Mr. told you, mostly around the motivation aspect, but not just to come in here and just give bland motivation, but it's mostly due to the problems that many of us are facing, many young persons are facing in terms of you want to do really well for yourself, you want to make some serious progress, you want to make some serious growth. Now, when you're trying to do that, there are many factors that can come into play. Now, there are factors that you could actually control, and there are also factors that you could probably have no control over, like zero control over. And but for you, you do not focus on the things you can control. You focus mostly on things that you have control, a measure of control over. And one of those things could be how you react to your circumstances or things that are happening to you. And one thing or two things that's proven to, really, really affect the way people respond to these things, and by extension, the kind of results they end up getting, is their approach to things like self-doubt and fears.
Yeah.
Yeah, Missim, from his own experience, he talked to you guys about, it was in university, like in the UK, grew up in the UK mostly, and then at some point he realized that, all right, there's something else he really wants to do, and he went full on to do it. And I want to believe that, Missim, I'm asking you now, was it actually a very, very smooth ride from you from the get-go, like from where you were to where you are right now? Was it a very smooth ride? Did you get everything easy?
Hell no, it was not smooth at all. It still is not smooth now.
Okay.
I mean that's just what like a lot of people don't realize, like how hard just like life is, like,
Yeah.
and it doesn't get easier per se. You just get stronger, So
Yeah.
like one of my big dreams when I first started freelancing was like, I remember it. I always say to people, I wanted to make £2,000 a month, right? Because to me, that amount, like £2,000, would be like enough for me to be able to live on my own and kind of have freedom from my parents, because I was living with my parents at the time. And it's funny because like 2-3 years later, when I hit that goal, I didn't even realize it because I was so engulfed into like kind of just like working hard and grinding and reaching my goal. And one day I was like, whoa, like I've actually hit my goals. And I'm like, what's next? So that's kind of like a funny anecdote. But definitely it's not a smooth ride. Like one of the big things that my mom instilled in me when I was younger, she would always say, life is hard. Listen, like you have to work hard, life is hard. And it's not until I got older that I actually realized how hard life is. And unfortunately, that's just the reality of things. And you know, we live in a society, we live in a system where, you know, if you're not adding value to society, you don't get any rewards for that, right?
Yeah.
And so when I was a little bit younger, I was a bit naive and I thought, hey, like I could change the system, I could fight against the system because, you know, I wanted to have freedom and whatnot. But in a sense, as I got older, I realized, okay, this is the system, this is the game. And in a way, I do see life as a game in a sense, because like if you think about it, just like a video game, you have your life bar, you have your power bar, and you know everybody has different stats, you know. And so some people are good, better than you at some things, and some people are not as good as you at certain things. And so you just gotta like see it kind of as a game. But of course, the difficulty of the game is pretty high, and
Yeah.
so you got to take any edge that you can get. And of course, like I'm a big proponent of what you said, like only control the things you can control, right? Like for example, in the beginning of my career, I would so obviously I was selling like Facebook ads services in the beginning. So I was just kind of I got into this program and they said to me, hey, you should sell Facebook ads. And I was like, sure, whatever. I just wanted to make money online, right? Like I had no clue what I was doing. I didn't have any digital marketing experience. The one thing I did say, I did have some sales experience because of some previous work experience that I had. I did door-to-door sales, which is like really tough to do. And so it gave me a little bit of an edge. And also, I'll be honest, like I've always been good, even though I'm an introvert, I've always been good at connecting and speaking with people. Like it's just something that comes natural to me. And that's just what I was born with, essentially. And so in the beginning, you know, they told me, hey, you should sell Facebook ads, like go do this. And you know, I would get really down on myself when I didn't get a sale, right? So I'd get on a sales call and things would not go well, and I'd be depressed for like days, you know, because I'm like, oh, like, you know, why I didn't get the sale, why didn't I make the money that I want to be making? And at the end of the day, as time went by, I was like, well, what can I control, right? What can I actually control from this experience? Like, because realistically, can you actually control whether you get a sale or not? Like as on in the grand scheme of things,
Well,
the answer to that is no, right? Because there's so many factors. Like, you know, there's other people that you're competing with, right? You can't control their performance, for example, right? So I'm having a sales call, but the prospect that I was speaking to, they're having calls with multiple people, and so it's like I can't control the other people's performance. I can only control my performance. And so what I realize is that, you know, always focus on the process, never focus on outcomes, right? A lot of people, they want the amazing outcomes, right? They like, for me, it was like I wanted to make $2,000 a month, pounds a month, right? But how much control did I have over that amount? I could only control what I would do on my day to day. I can only control my hustle, right? I can control, you know, spending time having like, so for example, like getting better at sales, right? Which means, hey, I can control how many people I can try to speak to on a regular basis, right? I can control maybe how many proposals I send out there to prospects, right? So once I started focusing more on the process and the things that I can control, inevitably over time, sales came through, right?
yeah.
But in the beginning, I would always get so, and also my mindset was so connected to the outcome because I was so outcome focused, which is, to be honest, that's how most people are built,
Yeah.
right? Like most people, they try something, they don't get an outcome, they kind of give up, right? Or maybe they do something for 3 months, right, at best, or 6 months. But then after that 6-month period, they give up, right? the reality is you have to also stick with things over a long period of time, right? So let's say you want to get a certain job. Let's say you want to build a certain business. You also have to put in a certain amount of time. So for me, I said to myself, hey, like, I'm going to give myself like 1 to 2 years of doing this seriously. I was also privileged and very lucky because I was living with my parents, so I didn't have to pay rent, even though my mom, she was like asking for money. I was like, I don't have it. Like, and so I was working kind of like a full-time job at the time. So I was working a job, and I was also trying to figure out how to the make money online thing, right? And so, yeah, there's only so much you can control, and also give yourself enough time. There's this one guy that I was watching on YouTube. His name is Noah Kagan. A couple of years ago, he was talking about the 10-year rule, right?
Yeah.
He says, if you're going to do something like big and impactful, which means like the more impact you have, the more money you're going to make, likely, right? Give yourself 10 years. Because before, I would think in like 6-month span, 1 year span, 2 year span, right? But then I would still have that same issue where if I didn't hit my goals, right? Let's say I wanted to make 6 figures, which I eventually hit. When I had that goal, I was like, hey, I want to make 6 figures within 2 years, right? But what Noah was saying on his YouTube videos was like, no, give yourself 10 years, because realistically, it takes about 10 years to actually build a real business, right? And you think about it, 10 years sounds like a lot, right? In reality, it's not that long. Like, I've been doing this now for 6-7 years. I mean, it feels like yesterday I just started it. And also, when you're living it day to day, there's things coming at you that you can't really you can't think like long term in a sense, because you're living it day to day. But again, you're controlling things. And for me also, when I said to myself, I'm going to do this for the next 10 years, it actually relieved a lot of pressure, because I used to think, okay, I have to make 6 figures in like 2 years, and I would put so much pressure on myself that it kind of led me to kind of it positioned me to fail, because mentally, if I didn't hit my goal, which I didn't in the short term, right? It would kind of defeat me, and it would make me kind of question myself. However, when I started thinking super long term, like 10-year block, right? And I'm like year 6 now, year 6, 7-ish, right? It actually let me focus more on the journey itself. Like, I believe I'm gonna get there, and even if I don't, that's fine. But I knew that I'll get there eventually, right? And so when I shifted my mindset from more of a even like midterm, like couple years, to like a 10-year plan, it made it relieved me of a lot of pressure as well. So yeah, just a few takeaways.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Give you time.
That makes a whole lot of sense. Thank you so much, Musim. So what you said is that you had a goal, you knew what you wanted, but instead of trying to compress it to achieve so much within a year, you allowed your goals to spread for a particular set period of time, so you could work better on it without any pressure, right?
Yeah.
What you said made me remember something I saw somewhere, and it's more like we overestimate how much we can achieve in a year, and sometimes
that's very cool.
How much you can achieve over a particular period of time. And
so true.
That makes a lot of sense, because you are able to do so much, and before you know, time has actually gone, and you find yourself really eating those stuff you really wanted to eat, even without over pressuring yourself really much. So from your experience, when you change your mindset from the point where you were trying to do everything at once, you starting out, you wanted like 2K pounds in a month and you didn't eat it. How did it make you feel at that point? Were you at any point where you started feeling so down, started doubting yourself, like, am I sure I'm caught out for this? Am I sure I'll ever become successful? Did you experience that at any time? Tell us.
Dude, all the freaking time. Like, this is something that I'm not really proud of, but I had a lot of defeats, like a lot of losses, in a sense, a lot of L's, right, in the beginning.
Okay.
So it sounds crazy to say this, and I don't say this to everyone. Like, I would never say this to a client, because they'll think, okay, you're like an idiot. But I genuinely, the first like 10 clients I had, I did not get them like any results.
Wow.
Like I did my best, like I really did my best to get them results, you know, like we'd have like certain KPIs, but the first like I'd say like 8 to 10 clients, maybe more, maybe less, I would like run ads for them and try and do my best, and it just nothing would stick, right? And I don't know about you guys, but like for me, when you tell someone, hey, I'm going to help you with your marketing, I'm going to help you do X, Y, and Z, and then you do it, you try your best and you don't achieve it, it was just crushing. Like it was so crushing. Like literally, I would like, this is kind of embarrassing, but I would cry to my girlfriend on the phone because I would be like, babe, like, why didn't I get the results? Like, I suck. Like, I'm not good at this. Like, this is horrible, you know? And this happened like over like months, you know, like over like a 6 to 8 month period. So because I had a good amount of skill talking to people, right? I was able to get clients in the beginning, right? Because I was able to kind of like bullshit my way through it in a sense, right? Like I knew how to speak to people, I knew to connect with them. So I was able to get clients, but actually in a way, like that kind of backfired, because once I actually got the clients, I was kind of learning from other people that actually were not doing this. So I was not learning from the right people. I was not having the right kind of mentors. So they were teaching me how to run ads and how to do things, but it was not the right way for one. So it wasn't totally my fault. But again, I tried to do my best. But yeah, so for those like first batch of clients, it was really just not working out. I just wasn't getting them the results. And when somebody's paying you for a service and they expect something from you, like it's not a good feeling when you have to say to them like, hey, look, like this is not working, like, you know. So I was being crushed over and over and over and over again, you know. And also smaller failure, that was kind of like a bigger failure, right? Also smaller failures like getting on a sales call with a prospect, trying to sell them something and them just not buying it whatsoever, right? So, you know, you get on a call, you try your best to sell to them, and then maybe they ask you a question like, yeah, so, you know, what, like, how would you solve this problem, right? And then you just be stuck and be like, like, I don't know, like, I didn't know much about marketing at the time, right? I was still figuring it all out. And so you'd be on a call and then you'd kind of get caught out, which in a sense, now looking back, it's like, it's fine not to know things, right? But it would feel like the stakes would be a lot higher. And then a client would be like, okay, like, cool, thank you for your time, miss him. Like, I'll talk to you later, you know, like they would just kind of leave the call, right? Because they'll be like, okay, clearly this guy, he doesn't know what he's talking about. And so obviously that was like a big sting to me as well. So it's like, you know, any kind of confidence that I had in myself was just like crushed, right? And also another thing that happened in the first 3 years, I had like multiple months where, you know, I might make $5,000 one month, but then I've had months where just everything just flat out just stopped, right? Clients would leave, you know, they would stop working with me. And I had like kind of 3 times where my kind of business was like start and stop, right? So we get some momentum, you know, try and give the best results to these clients, wouldn't happen. Clients would leave, and then I'd find myself with no clients, looking to and kind of just starting from scratch again, right? And this happened like 3 times over like a two-year period in the beginning. However, the biggest thing is I never gave up. One, because that's not my personality. Even though I failed many times, I still always thought about the big picture, right? Like, understand that whatever journey you take, whether it's getting a job, whether it's starting a business, whatever that may be, there's going to be a lot of failure, especially if you're aiming big. Like the bigger your goals are, the bigger your fails, the bigger your failure is going to be. However, the beauty about success is the more you fail, the more likely you are to succeed, right? Because every client that I was getting, even though I was failing, I was learning, right? And so I would implement and I would adjust. And so the more failures I had, the closer I was getting to success, right? And in hindsight, I'm actually kind of happy, because imagine if I just said, okay, like this is not working for me, right? I would have just given up. But the reality is that to have success, the more you fail, the more you succeed, right? So, look at the best entrepreneurs, like they've probably started like 20, 30, 40 businesses, but you likely never heard about it, because if somebody fails, you don't hear about the failures, right? You only hear about the successes. And so, but also this is something that most entrepreneurs might not even tell you, because, it's kind of embarrassing. Like me telling you that my first 10 clients, like just completely tanked, like nobody wants to hear this, but this is what people should be hearing, because, it's not easy by any means, but it's worth it if you do it, right? Whatever goal you're trying to achieve. And so again, don't focus too much on the losses. Actually understand that the more you lose, the more you fail, the closer you'll get into success, right? And actually, if you're not failing in the long term, you're probably doing something wrong, because if everything is coming easy to you, that's probably a big red flag that something bad is gonna happen around the corner, right? Like imagine everything was going dandy, and then, probably something in the back end is probably not right. Like look at FTX. Everything seemed to be going well until it all went to shit. Boom, exactly. Yep.
Thank you so much. So like I actually like what you said, the part where you mentioned that the more you fail, the more likely you are to succeed. I actually have to write that down. Most times you see people, they really want to do something, but that fear of failure, all right, they're scared of failing. And it could be so overwhelming, and they just abandon the stuff they want to do because they don't want to risk failing, and then they feel like I'm just a failure myself, right? So I think from what you said, you want to say something? Okay. So from
I'm just gonna say
okay, go on, please. Go on.
Can I say? Yeah, I was gonna say you have to separate yourself from the failure, right? Failure does not dictate who you are. At the end of the day, I could fail 100 times, but that does not change who I am. Missing the human in me, right? Like I know you also have to have a certain level of confidence in yourself. Like, hey, I know I'm missing. I'm a good human, right? I'm trying my best. I'm not succeeding, but that's fine. My family still loves me. People around me still love me. I still have my friends. Even if you succeed or fail, like if everything went to shit tomorrow, I'll still wake up the same way I wake up every day. So even if I become a billionaire tomorrow, like I'm still the same person. Or even if I fail like 100,000 more times tomorrow, I'm still the same person, because that my success does not necessarily equal. Like I don't get, like when I was a little bit younger, I would value myself based on the success of my business, right? But you have to detach yourself. That's where the process type thinking comes in. Focus on the process. Are you hitting your daily goals, right? To get to your bigger goals. If you're doing that, whether you're failing or not, that's irrelevant. Because eventually, if you keep following the process, and that's what I would say to myself. Every time I failed, I said, okay, this is again, a small step in a bigger goal. And always think about the end goal in mind. Don't focus on also don't get too high on the successes too, because I made that mistake as well. I got really high on the successes. I would make a $5,000 sale and I'll be like, whoa, I'm living the life. Whoa, I just made $5,000. Like I would never be able to make that and like a job, right? Because my paycheck would be fixed. And I'll get really like my ego would be get really attached to those wins. And then when I wouldn't make those same like kind of paydays, right? Same kind of get those same kind of clients, I'd feel low, because I'm like, whoa, like I'll just come down, right? Whereas now, in a sense, I could make a $10,000 sale tomorrow. I don't care. I can make a $500 sale. It's the same, right? I don't focus too much on the wins. Don't focus too much on the losses. Always focus on the process. And that's how you don't get the high highs and lows, right? Because that's what can cause you really to fail, the high, like too high highs, too low lows. Yeah. Sorry, I apologize. I interrupted you there.
No problem. That's okay. Thank you so much for that, Misim. Focusing on the process, if you ask me, I think it could actually also help us not to get too overwhelmed with competition or comparing ourselves with others. Because sometimes we're trying to learn a new skill and there's some other person there and person is doing better than us, and then we start trying to compare, like, why is this person getting success and I'm not? So when you do that, I think it's not going to give you any benefit down the line. You're only going to kill yourself still.
That is a joy killer.
Yeah,
that is a joy killer. Can I add a point to what you just said, because it's super.
Go on.
So when I started doing this, right, I was in a group with all of these different groups of like-minded people, right? And some people just have success like this, right? Or at least it felt like that. And there would be somebody in the group saying, "Hey, I just hit like $50,000 a month in sales," and I'll be like, "Oh my goodness, like, how are they doing that?" Like, first I'll be like, "How are they doing that?" Right? And I'd be like, "How? That's not fair." Like, these people are killing it, and I'm here like maybe I've hit just my goal of like 2,000 pounds.
Yeah.
So one thing is, never compare yourself to others, at least negatively, right? It's okay to look at others and see what they're doing and take from them even, right? And learn from them. But never like negatively compare yourself to others, because realistically, you're not them, right? Everybody's different. Everybody has different talents. Some people are going to be much more talented than you are at whatever thing you're trying to do, right? Like, let's talk about sports, right? Like, I will never be as good as like LeBron James in basketball, for example, right? Like, it's just, I'm like 5'10", not athletic, doesn't matter what I do, I'll never get to his level. So imagine me comparing myself to LeBron James. It's nonsensical, right? It's just, that's not how I'm built, right? But a lot of people do this in business because they think business is like, you can compare yourself to business people because it's all about the brain, right? Everybody's like the same. But in business, we're not all equal, right? Just like people have talent for sports, people have talent for businesses. There's people that start businesses when they're like 10 years old, right? And by the time they're 20, they already have multiple businesses. Maybe they've sold a business, and it's just like, you're not them. The reality is, you're not that person. So comparing yourself is just not gonna make you feel good. Like, I would compare myself with others, and then over time I just learned, like, just don't even, like, just focus on yourself. Focus absolutely 100% only on yourself, right? Like, don't look at ads on Facebook that tell you how you're gonna make 6 figures tomorrow, right? Like, that's another thing for me. Like, you're going to see ads on your timeline. You're going to see things on your timeline. They're going to try and sell you these dreams, right? And in the beginning, I would click on all of them because I was like, okay, like, I was desperate, right? I'd be like, okay, like, I want to learn how to make 6 figures. I was like, let me click on all these ads. Let me watch all the webinars. Let me watch all the training, right? And then over time, I learned, no, that's horrible idea. Do the opposite, right? These people, most of these things you see online, they're trying to sell you something, or they're trying to indoctrinate you so they can eventually sell you onto something, right? So I curate everything that I consume in terms of social media, just media in general, right? Anything you consume, I curate it. Like, I have YouTube Premium, right? Which basically blocks all the ads on your phone and laptop. So I don't get any ads on my timeline, like on YouTube, for example. And I do that. And again, it's like $11.99, right? Which is like, oh crap, like, why are you paying? Like, my brother was like, why are you paying like $12 to get no ads? And it's because I don't want to see an ad and then spend another 1,000 or 5,000 on a program. So I'm actually saving money by spending the $12 because I know what I'm like. I know what I can be like, right? Like, I've fallen for these things before. I've been burned, and it happens to everybody. Everybody gets burned, and maybe they buy a course or a product, and they were sold kind of like a dream or this experience. And
Yeah.
so like I use ad block on my Facebook, for example, or Instagram, right? I see an ad, I just scroll through, right? I only focus on myself and my journey, and I don't compare myself with anybody else, because again, I learned this a long time ago. You're not the same as them. You know, you're you have your qualities. And also the thing is, there's other people that are looking up to me, right? And they're looking at me and they're thinking, oh wow, like I want to be like you, right? I want to be like X, Y, and Z. And so it's like, don't ever compare yourself. Just compare yourself to your previous version of yourself, right? Have like goals 3, 6, 12 months down the line. And again, if you're not hitting those goals, then you can really say to yourself, okay, like what is going on? Am I doing enough? Am I doing the right things? Right. But never compare yourself with other people, especially when it comes to money, man, because it's really insidious. And it really was another kind of negative spiral that you can easily get into, right? And it's funny because the people that I was into these groups, the ones that were making a lot of money, do you know what they were doing?
Oh,
They were like pretty much scamming people,
okay.
right? So they were making like 50K, and turns out these people were just like scamming like their customers, their clients. They're just over promising, under delivering, right? And I'm like, oh shit, now it makes sense in hindsight how these people were making so much money, because they were overselling these packages and they were like delivering like shit services, and they just cared about money only. So again, their reputation now is like down the drain. So in the end, it's like, oh shit, like I was comparing myself to these people and they turned out to be like actual losers, you know? So again, like whatever you do, don't compare yourself to others. The only time I say comparison is fine is either you can learn something from them, right? But not maliciously, like in a positive, with a positive mind, right? So if you can learn something from them, you know, or if maybe you can get some help from them, right? But apart from maybe those few scenarios, it's like even if somebody's making more money than you, right?
Yeah.
Like unless you will get help from them, how does that affect you positively or negatively in life, right? Unless you can actually have contact with them and maybe learn something from them. It doesn't matter whether somebody's making more money than you or not, because that doesn't actually affect you, you know?
Sure. Thank you so much. That was actually very, very amazing. So we've been picking up a couple of stuff from what Missing has shared so far. Those of you who were not here early enough, Missing talked about why we should not fall for the trap of trying to do everything on that short time. Some persons, when the new year comes, when 2023 comes, they'll be like, okay, so this is my very long list of New Year resolution, you know, that sort of thing, right? And then maybe at the end of the day, you get bonds, you set on realistic goals since you could not possibly achieve it under a year until you start going up the wrong way. You see, you go down the downward spiral and perhaps can start becoming negative. We talked about that, and also talked about why it is important for us to focus on the process, right? When we focus on the process, we're able to resist comparing ourselves with others. We're able to focus more on the incremental progress we're making. Like you talked about the previous version we were yesterday. So how better are we today compared to the guy of yesterday? So that's something we should also look at. And it is not bad. I think it's not out of the normal for us to feel sad sometimes when we don't eat our stuff. Missing was honest enough to tell us about how in the beginning stages, when it was not meeting up to the things he wanted to, he could actually go and cry to his girlfriend on the phone. And that took a lot of courage.
That again. I'm just kidding,
So,
man.
you know, most of the times, yeah, I want to believe that many persons here on this call, they have many stuff they want to do. You guys are laughing my cap. I'm actually covering my hair, so that's why I'm putting on my cap. So most persons like on this call right now, they are young persons, or even if they are not young, perhaps they have businesses they're trying to build. That is one. And two, they are trying to learn skills, could be 21st century skills that could make them profitable down the line, basically change their lives for the better.
Yes.
Right. And starting out with these things sometimes takes a whole lot of courage, especially when the environment you are in, you might not have friends who are, unquote, nurturing you to that aspect, right? And then sometimes when you try to figure out these things on your own, you do not have a support system, unquote, it could feel overwhelming. So for you, Miss Sim,
Yeah.
how were you able to deal with things like this, in terms of having a support system to, to actually lean on in those times when things might become a bit overwhelming? What do you advise this set of persons
A
now?
very good question. That's a very good question. And there's a lot to unpack on that because, look, I'll be honest, in reality, in the beginning, and even further down the line,
Yeah.
the only support system is yourself, right? It's sad to say, but it's true, right? Because at the end of the day, right, if I'm running a business and I'm the CEO of my business,
Yeah.
and things are not going well, right? Who do I blame? Who can I rely on, right? And of course, you may have friends, family, and there's some encouragement they can give you, but then like if you're in debt, for example, no one's gonna pay that for you, right? So first and foremost is about having like being self-reliant, right? So you have to learn how to just be self-reliant, right? Like you have to understand that like you're player one, right? Like we are our own universe. We are, you know, we don't live like through other people's lives. We only live our own life. And so though you may have a support system, which is kind of like what you're building. Can you still hear me, by the way? It's good.
Yeah,
Can you still hear me?
yeah, I can. It went slow for a while. I think your video is actually okay. You're perfect now.
All right. Yeah. So at the end of the day, like you
Okay, I
are
think your
player
internet is.
one, and so personal journey was like this, right? What was that, sorry?
Your internet is poor, but
Um,
I don't know. Okay,
should be fine. I see like 4 bars on my
yeah, I
Wi-Fi.
think it's better now. It's better now.
All right, let's give it a shot. But yeah, so in the beginning of my kind of freelancing slash business career, right? Uh, the reality is that no one like truly supported me in the beginning, right? So like my family, they were not supportive at all of what I was doing. I had dropped out of university. Um, on the outside, like I was working, retail job, right? So on the outside, it looked like I was kind of like a failure in their eyes, right? And rightly so, because I didn't finish university. I was not having a good job. I was not making enough like sizable, like a livable income, right?
Mhm.
Um, I wasn't able to move out. I had no freedom and whatnot. So, because of that, on the outside, my family looked at me as like I'm this kind of failure, right? Which, to be honest, I kind of was, but again, I was still young, so it's like there was still room for growth, and that's what I was trying to explain to my family. I was like, why are you putting so much pressure on me when I just become an adult, like now, right? When I was like 20, 21, etc., etc. So I had a lot of pressure on me, right? And that didn't help. So I had to kind of, again, focus on myself, right? And not listen to the outside noise, right? Because you may have support, you may not. In reality, most people won't have support from their family, right? Because their family's going to think, like, hey, what is this business you're talking about? Like my mom in the beginning, she was like, what is this like Facebook ads? What is this online business that's not a real thing? Like it just didn't make sense to her, right? Now it does, because now like I've been doing this for years, right? So in a sense, like, you have to be relying on yourself. You can't let other people's opinions and thoughts dictate what kind of life you live, right? Because at the end of the day, you will die one day, right? And whether you started your business, whether you reach your goals, and what people said about whatever kind of journey you're going on into, it doesn't matter. Like those people, they're not gonna die with you. You're gonna die by yourself. And what you did in life, how happy you were with your own life, the risks you took, the things that paid off, that didn't, you got to live with that. So at the end of the day, just understand that, like, however people want you to live your life, whether it's society, your family, external forces, right? Because everybody has pressure on themselves, right? Pressure from within, from outside. And so, just understand that whatever other people say. You gotta have faith in yourself, right? Like at the end of the day, if somebody asks me, hey, would I bet on myself for these things? I would always bet on myself as opposed to like other things, right? Because I've faith in myself, and maybe not everybody does, right? So in a sense, you have to build up that confidence over time, right? Because not everybody has that level of confidence. Maybe you don't have confidence to start a business, but again, back to step one, what can you control?
Yeah.
You can control how confident you are into something because you can build up the reps, right? And so for me, it was like, I didn't have a support system, so I went for it anyways, right? So, fuck it. Like whether you have a support system or not, it doesn't matter. You got to go after it, right? Otherwise, what's the point of living in this life, right? Because look, if you're not taking risks to some degree, and for me, I'm very risk averse, right? I don't like to take a lot of risk. I did take risk in the beginning, but it was always calculated risk, right? So you always have to calculate how much, like it's called EV, estimated value. So everything you do in life has an estimated amount of value that you can get out of it, right? I don't know if you've ever heard of this kind of principle, but basically, like think of it like this way, right? Like let's say you are trying to walk to the gym, right? It's like, what is the fastest path to get there, right? So you can save the most amount of time and you can walk the least, right? And it's like the estimated value for taking different paths for some is higher than others, right? And so for me, like, if I'm gonna live this life, like I really want to go for it. I want to make as much money as I can, and I know that if I don't take risk to some degree, you're never gonna reach your goals. And also, again, going back to the support system, like you got to rely on yourself, right? And also you got to take responsibility for everything to some degree, which is kind of good in a way, but is also bad. But again, you got to live with your consequences. You got to live with the choices you make. But also, like, the beautiful thing is, like, there are communities out there like this one where you're speaking to people like myself, and then you've done a great job of bringing, I'm sure, people to speak about different topics and whatnot. And so there are people out there that you can speak to, right? But even then, for me, like, I'm very much of like a lone wolf in that sense. Like, nobody's going to really help you out, so just do it anyways, and screw everything else. Just focus on yourself and go for it.
Yeah, that was amazing. Thank you so much, Musim. So we've had so much to talk about today. Like we've actually discussed about a lot of stuff from this short time we spent together, roughly 51 minutes now. So I want to do this, right? I think most of us have been listening so far. Let's get some feedback from you guys. I would like to get some questions.
Yeah.
I would like to see, is there anything that stood out for you or something? I want to see some engagement in the comment section. So let's make it very, very interactive. I like my sessions to be interactive. I want to see your questions. I want to see, the things you want to know more about.
Yeah, people can put their hand up if they want to ask a question, right?
Okay, yeah. So if you want to be button like to speak, you could also indicate, put your hands up, and that could work. All right.
Because also, like, if I can, I want to get into specifics of how people can reach their goals, right? Because we talked a lot about mindset and things like that. And to be honest, mindset is great in a sense, and it is important. Like, it is the first thing. Like, if you want to have any kind of sort of goal and reach it, you got to believe that you can do it, right? If initially you don't believe that you can do something, doesn't matter what action you take, you will never be able to achieve it because you're going to sabotage yourself mentally before you even are able to get the success. Do you know what I mean? So you have to believe it first, but at the same time, there is ways of going about things, right? Like for me, like one of my skills is figuring out a way of doing things, right? Like, for example, running an agency, you run into all kinds of problems, right? Like things that you would never even expect. And so in business, this happens all the time. Like being a business owner is really being about a problem solver, right? Figuring out how to fix problems, how to improve systems, and so on. And sometimes, like, you get problems and you're like, okay, what can I do? Right? Like, how can I fix X, Y, and Z? And so, yeah, I'd love to get into specifics if people have like specific questions about their businesses, because pretty much a big part of my job as well, I talk to business owners. I've spoken to like hundreds of business owners that are looking to grow their business.
Yeah.
And I'm always giving them advice and consulting with them. And people pay me like like my hourly rate is $110 per hour. Like it's crazy. I never thought I'd get to this point, but people pay me $110 per hour to speak to them, right? And to ask me, hey, listen, what would you do in this situation? So I've gotten so many of these questions that I'm able to like think through problems quite efficiently in a sense. So yeah, if anybody has a question, please raise your hand.
I'm looking at the chat right now, not just the chat. I'm looking at the participants. So if you have a question, you're getting a free right to ask any question and get free consultation right now. Could be in terms of in terms of it's not paying $100, right? You're getting this for free. So I have Joy Homovier. I need some other person to put up our hands too. So I'm going to take Joy first. Okay, I think I'm going to make it competitive. I'm going to take just 3 questions for now. So who's going to be the 3 persons? I have Joy, 2 other persons. It doesn't necessarily need to have a business per se. It could be in terms of having a skill or something.
Whatever it is.
Yeah, whatever, actually. So I'm seeing Joy, I'm seeing like Adeolu. I hope I pronounced the name well. Then Adedoyin. So that's 3, right? So maybe I will create the opportunity again. But okay, then there's Zainab. So I have 4. There's Joy, there's Adeolu, there's Doyin. So for now, just leave your hands up. So Joy, I would like you to unmute your microphone and go on to ask a question. Okay. Can you hear me, Joy?
Hello. Thank you very much. I'm actually on your LinkedIn profile and it's impressive. And I want to thank you so much for telling us all this. I think this should be $1,000 per 10 minutes consultation.
So good. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Now, for me, I'm actually baby steps. My plan is to get the marketing agency basically on content and probably on LinkedIn. But I have 2 questions.
Sure.
Your value add marketing system, was it something that over experience with clients, or you kind of you just got it like a base? I mean, what I'm trying to say is, did you have a structure down? This is what I want to do, or it grew with what you saw? That's one.
It's probably the latter, right? Like when it came to marketing, for me, it took me quite a long time to figure out how things really work. But there is a few principles that are really important. So you said your goal is to build like a content marketing agency, pretty much?
Yes.
So you wanna, what kind of content, if I may ask? Like you talked about LinkedIn, is that part of it?
Yes, LinkedIn and many video contents.
I have a great strategy for how to get good at content. Great strategy. And me and Justice, we talked about this, right? Because Justice, he's also like done some copywriting. So he also offers like copywriting services, right? He's done in the past. And he was asking me the same question. Like,
copywriting. Justice taught me copywriting.
Yeah, exactly. And so if you want to build a content marketing agency, the best way to do it is to get really good at content, right? Which sounds like like, of course, you want to be great at content, but how do you actually get good at content, right? This is one of my advice that I said to Justice. You write every single day, right? Whatever time you get, you're going to write content, right? Or you're going to film content, right? So if I was you and I wanted to build a content marketing agency, I would do content every single day, right? Like I would do like a 30-day challenge. Every day I have to write 1 piece of content. There was a really good marketer who did this actually. He did it for a whole year. Seth Odin, what? Let me find his name real quick. Let me just Google it. Seth marketing. Seth Godin. Have you ever heard of Seth Godin? Joy,
yes.
Have you ever heard of Seth Godin? I'll type it on the chat. Seth Godin. So he's like an OG marketer, right? From like the 80s, maybe 90s. What he did is he made a blog post every single day for a whole year. So every day he would make a blog post, right? And his content is like amazing. Like he's one of the best content marketers out there. Like his presentations, if you watch them, honestly, they're pretty mind-blowing. Like me as a marketer, the stuff that like his presentations, like they're sick, like they're next level. Like I really recommend you check out his presentations. But in terms of you're talking about value marketing as well, that's kind of an idea that I came up with just over the years. The more marketing I did, the more kind of systems I found around it. For you, I'd say don't focus too much on value-added marketing or whatever strategy of marketing out there. I'd focus on writing content every single day and building that skill over time, because the better your content is, the more you can charge, and also the higher value you're providing to clients, and the more you can actually like leverage your skill, if that makes sense, right? So if it's not something that you're not doing already, like writing content every single day, or at least maybe like for 30 minutes, 1 hour every single day, I would be doing that if I was you.
Thank you very much. I write every day, and it's an encouragement.
Perfect. Keep doing it. Keep doing it. Are you posting it? Are you posting your content as well?
Yes, I am. I'm on LinkedIn. I sent you a connection request.
Awesome. Great. I'll check out your content. I'll give you some feedback if you like.
That was so great. Thank you very much.
Perfect. Keep going. Keep at it.
Yeah, thank you so much, George. Thank you, Ms. Sim. So the next person now is Adeolu. So Adeolu, you can unmute your microphone and go on to ask your questions. So I'm going to open after Adeolu, after Doyin, then Zainab. I'm going to answer. We're going to answer the question from Caleb on the chat, and maybe if we still have enough time, we could get some more questions from some other person. So the questions are more like specific to you. It could be in terms of you learning a skill. It could be in terms of you learning a business. Now, Ms. Sim is very experienced, and you're roughly getting crazy value for free. So take full advantage of it if you can. So Adeolu, please unmute your microphone and go on to ask a question. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much for the opportunity.
Your voice is
My
distant.
question is,
Can you speak louder a bit?
okay, can you hear me louder now?
Yeah, still faint, but you can go on.
Okay, my question is, as a student, when you think of starting a business online, how do you overcome the fear of in quote, people's reaction? Like what would people think about you? What would be the reaction of them? Hope you get what I'm trying to do.
Did you get the question, Mr.?
Yeah, can you write it down? Because your mic is not working the best. So if you could write the question down and then I'll answer it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be good.
All right. So while he writes his question down, I'm going to move straight down to Adedoyin. So DY, please unmute your microphone and go on to ask a question.
Okay. Hello, Justice. Hello, Vincent. Can you all hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Yes.
Okay. So I really appreciate the fact that you guys could put up this together. You could put up this particular session, because it's I think it's a struggle that myself and I know a few others actually have, like, especially because we know we are all adults and everything. And something Mrs. said resonated with me when he said something about you can. So I just took it as you cannot always be like you'll always be in the middle, regardless of whatever stage you are at. So even if you feel like, oh, you are making it, it's all so making it like more than you. Even if you feel like you don't have enough, there's someone that actually looks up to you. I think based on what Miss Tim explained, I could pick that, you would always be in the middle regardless of how far you've achieved. So I have a question based on it's.
Oh, we just lost her.
Yeah, I think so. Adedoyin, are you there? Oh, sure. That's bad. All right, I'm going to check the chat if Adeolu has not dropped his question on the chat yet. I'm waiting for him to drop his question. So Adedoyin,
practical about it. So
Adedoyin, are you there?
I'm there. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we missed for some time. Can you go to the question, please?
Okay, all right. So I was saying that it's quite coincidental how I'm also in the online marketing space. Yes, however, I'm still in the growth stage. I'm still in the growth process. So recently, I figured like a few companies have reached out to me like out of the blues. Like they want me to manage their digital marketing business, like the digital marketing unit of their department. However, I'm still like undergoing this training in the particular digital marketing institute. So I feel like I'm not good enough yet. Like I'm not good enough to start like taking up that role yet. But they still insist. I think with the
Oh shit. Our internet was disconnected again. That's sad. Okay. While we wait for DY to come back, Adeolu just dropped this question, Miss him.
Yes. So yeah, let me read it out. So as a student, when you think of starting a business online, how do you overcome the fear of people's reaction, right? That's a very good question, because for me, like my family was like the opposite of supportive, right? Like my mom, she would come into my room every single day saying, "What are you doing with your life? Like, why are you wasting your life?" Right? And so for her, like her reaction was like, just stop. Like she was just super negative about it, right? And I can hear from you loud and clear. What's going on from your end? Yes.
Oh yeah, I'll reply to her. Just go on.
All right, perfect. So yeah, talking about people's fear. So it really comes down to this simple fact, right? One day you're gonna die, right? And the people that have those opinions of you, those reactions, they won't exist either, right? So none of this external stuff really matters. Like these people that they may have negative reactions towards you, why do they matter? Like, do these people matter to you? And even if they do, even if it's your family, if they're not helping you, if they're hindering you, then don't even let that transpire into your brain. Like, don't even let that transpire into you, right? Like, it sounds cliche, but just focus on yourself. Don't care what other people think. Let the success speak for itself, right? 6 years ago, when I started doing this, my family was essentially hating on me, right? Like they were haters, like genuinely, right? And now, fast forward to 6 months, 6 years later, like my cousins are saying to me, "Oh, miss him, like, wow, what are you doing for a living? Like, this is amazing." When I explain to them like how I basically like work from home and like do this online marketing stuff, and I basically am able to charge hundreds of dollars per hour to like clients, their mind was blown. And now they're asking me like, "Can you please teach me how to do it?" And I'm like, I don't know. You were not so nice to me, were you? So again, like, prove them wrong. Use that as fuel, right? Use it as fuel. Forget what people are saying. Have confidence in yourself. Focus on yourself. Don't focus on the outside stuff. That stuff is irrelevant. Like, forget the Instagram. Forget the flashy things you see on our Instagram. Forget everything else. Like, just focus on the one. Because at the end of the day, you're gonna die, and those choices that you made, you're gonna have to live with for the rest of your life. And eventually, none of this will matter, right? So then, what is the point? If you're not gonna live your life, what's the point of having one? If you're not gonna be able to make the choices that you want to make, what's the whole point? Then there's no point to even living. So just do what you want and forget the rest, and let action speak louder than words over time. Because yeah, that's really what it's about.
Thank you so much. That was a fine one, Miss Sims. Thank you very much. So I think we also got a question from on the chat. Let me see quickly. From Caleb. Caleb was, do you want to read that, Miss Sim, or should I read it?
You read it because I don't see it.
Okay. It was like, intermittently, I got to some points where I get afraid when I remember how difficult things gonna be. How can one get through this?
Very good question. So the reality about life is that you're gonna feel anxiety, right? When you're trying to do something good with your life, you're gonna feel anxiety. But the points in your life when you feel anxiety, and when it's kind of you go into yourself, right? Like when you feel anxiety, your body language closes, right? And you're like, oh, you feel shy, you feel unconfident, you feel like just like kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, you look within, right? But the great thing is, when you feel that feeling, I want you to chase it. I want you to go forward. and go into that feeling and embrace that feeling and just fuck it and do it anyway, right? Like just get used to doing that, because the more like for me, one thing I learned is when I feel anxiety in a moment, I probably need to go against my anxiety and do what I know I'm supposed to be doing, right? And this is also how stress builds up, right? Like when your brain knows when you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, right? Like you can lie to yourself all day, but you can't lie to your body, right? When you know you're supposed to be doing something, like, why I'm so stressed, because it's your body telling you that you're quitting on yourself. Like you're letting your emotions dictate what you do in life. So whenever you feel anxiety, go against the grain, go against anxiety, do it anyways. Like for me, when I would get on a sales call, I would shit myself. My chest would be pounded through my heart. My armpits, for the first year doing sales calls, my armpits just wet, like just fully wet, right? And yeah, I was like shitting myself, but guess what? I still stayed on the calls. I was still trying to sell. I was still trying to pitch. Like whenever you have that feeling, you know you're doing something right. So the more anxiety you feel, the closer you'll get into where you need to be getting. And at the end of the day, you have a choice, man. Like it really comes down to making those small choices. If you make those small choices, the right choices, over time, those choices will build up and you'll get value out of it. But again, you know, and look, it's okay to not get it in the beginning, right? Like for me, like for example, I'm trying to lose weight right now, right? So like I have my diet and sometimes, actually often in the beginning, I was cheating on my diet, right? But guess what? The next day I get up, I say, okay, I fucked up yesterday. That's okay. Don't kill yourself for failure. Again, detach yourself from that. So I would wake up, I say, okay, I cheated yesterday. Today I'm gonna do what I'm supposed to be doing. And then I'll cheat maybe a week later on my diet again. And this will kind of go on for a while. But then over time, as I stuck to the process, now I'm able to actually stick to my diet. And I'm like having success and I've lost some weight and I look and I feel better. And so again, it's okay to fail in the short term, right? But again, just stick to it. Really just stick to it. Focus on the process and think about the big picture. Don't focus on the failure. Think, okay, I fucked up. That shit happens, right? Nobody's perfect. You're going to fail. You're going to feel anxiety. You're going to get shit wrong. But again, stick to it. So for me, whenever you get that feeling, I know I'm doing something right.
Yeah.
So I keep at it.
Thank you so much, Ms. Sim. Thank you very much. So I think Adidonye has dropped a question. You could see it on the comment section.
Yeah. So I was saying that I'm also in the online digital marketing space, and I'm currently undergoing this digital marketing course at an institute to add to my expertise. A few firms have reached out to me out of the blues that they would need my contribution to build their brand with my skill. I feel I'm not ready yet, as I'm not done with this program yet, but they think I'm qualified even after chipping in that I'm not done yet. What advice would you give me? All right. So first and foremost, you also, if you have no experience and they're reaching out to you from the blue, just beware it's not a scam, right? Like just know that, make sure that this is a real business that's reaching out to you, right? Like talk to them beforehand, because if you haven't advertised yourself online, and like you're not, like if you don't have a profile somewhere, right, that you're a marketing expert, just be wary that these people are not trying to scam you, because that happens to me as well. I get messages saying, hey, want to work with you, and then I look at their profile, it's like some bullshit, right? So make sure it's real first. If it is real, for me, it would be a no-brainer. Go for it. Why? You don't have experience? That's fine. What? Do it. Like, this is an opportunity, right? And this is not gonna, if this is a real opportunity and it's coming to you, it's like God is giving you something on a silver platter and it's saying, take it, right? Even if you don't have experience, that's fine. Like, just understand that they're not hiring, like if they're paying you for this, right? And, you know, they could be hiring a bunch of different other people, but they want to work with you. So that says a lot about you, right? And even if it's just pure luck, the worst thing that can happen is you get paid, you earn some money, you get skills, you learn something from it. So it's like a win-win. If you're getting paid and you're learning something, it's like, to me, it's like a no-brainer to go for it, even if you don't feel like you're ready, because guess what? Your brain is probably always going to tell you you're not ready yet. So just go for it anyways and just learn from it. And worst thing that can happen is you make some money, you learn a bunch of new things. To me, it's like God is just giving you something on a platter and just saying like, hey, this is the opportunity. Like, it's right in front of your eyes. If I was getting started, when I was getting started, if somebody had said to me, hey, Missing, want to work with you, I didn't have any experience, I'd be like, hell yeah, let's do it. Yeah, go for it.
Thank you.
Just vet them first. Make sure that you can actually like make sure they're a real company. And if they really want to work with you and they want to pay you, like, go for it.
Thank you very much, Mr. So I have one more question. Zainab, are you still here? She actually raised up her hand the other time. Okay, I don't think she's still here. She is, but Zainab, if you want to ask a question, you could unmute her to speak. Okay, we don't have time. I'll move on to the next question. So I'm going to take a question from Tabitha. Then I'll get.
Wait, can I just add one point to Adedoyin?
Okay.
Imposter syndrome. About imposter syndrome, right? Guess what? I still have imposter syndrome nowadays. Like, I've been doing this for 6 years. There's people that have been doing this for longer than me, like 10, 20 years, and they have imposter syndrome. And it's shocking. There's some people that live with imposter syndrome, like, and they've been doing this for longer than me, and they still feel like I'm not good enough. And guess what? Like, everybody has imposter syndrome to some degrees, right? Some more than others. But again, think about your goals. Will this help you or hinder you in your journey? If this will help you, if this is adding value to yourself and the clients, then just do it. Like, as I said, I have companies coming to me. Like, we recently started working with a company that's grossing like 8 million a year, right? Tech company. And yes, when I first started talking to them, I was a bit scared. I was like, oh shit, like, they're making 8 million and you build this up in your head, and you know, they're a big company, they have hundreds of employees all around the world. I'm thinking, oh crap, like, I don't know if I can help them. And then once I detached myself from the conversation, right, from the sales call, I had to think about it. I was like, this is a no-brainer. I need to be working with this company. Like, I'm going to help them. They're going to pay me. It's a win-win. Let's do it. Like, you know, detach yourself from the kind of, from the big, from all the fog, right? Like, clear your mind, right? And think of it logically, right? Like, for me, like, it was a big company. Yes, there's fear, because there's fear of failure, because look, like, they're a big company. Like, what if I fuck up? Like, what if they say to their customers that something bad happened? Like, yeah, that could happen. But the reality is that likely that's not going to happen. This is all in your mind. You're just building this whole scenario. Like, when I was growing up, I was very introverted, and I'd build all these fake scenarios in my head of like, if I made this choice, what would happen? And this would happen, and this would happen. And I'd like live in my head 24/7, right? But now I'm like, okay, what is the reality, right? Reality is a win-win. Go for it. Worst thing that can happen is, okay, you lose a client. Like, shit happens, you know, you move past it, you move forward, they move forward, you move forward, and that's it. That's the worst thing that can happen. So, and it's not that bad at the end of the day. And I've been there, and it's not that bad.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. So yeah, I'm going to take a question from Tabitha now, and then I'll take a question from Innocent. And if we still have time, depends on Mr. actually. I think it's already running late. It's past 10 already, but let's see how it goes.
So good.
Okay, so Tabitha, can you please unmute your microphone and ask your question?
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thanks for the opportunity. Can you hear me?
Yeah, sure, we can.
Yep.
Okay. So my question is, there's a time that Missing said you have to like work up to like 10 years because of a video that I was watching on YouTube. Like, you can't just measure long-term success with one year or 6 months kind of work. So I know there are some persons that are actually doing stuff, but they are moving in the wrong direction, but you don't know it yet because, you know, they're just trying, does this work or does this doesn't work? At what point do you say this doesn't work, this is not working, I need to stop and redirect and refocus? At what point do you do that?
That's a very good question, Tabitha, because the reality is that not everything is going to work out, right? Like, you know, for me, like I tried a bunch of different stuff, right? And I was lucky that one thing stuck and then I just stuck to it, right? So for me, it's really about setting up like realistic goals, right? So I'd say to myself, okay, like Missim, like you want to make £2,000 a month. That was my initial goal. Like, is this realistic, right? But so that's kind of like the grand scheme of thing. But when you break it down, you have to break it down to a small level, right? So it's like, what are my like immediate short-term goals, right? Like you have to set yourself up with some kind of timeline, right? So for example, like when I first started, I said, hey, month, then I have to reevaluate everything, right? And so set yourself a certain goal that you want to hit within a certain amount of time. Try make it realistic as much as you can. Again, you won't know everything, right? So for me, £2,000, that could have been a lot of money. That could have been a little, like, I just kind of ballparked it, right? I didn't know if that was going to be achievable or not, right? I was seeing people making money online, but I didn't know if I could do it, right? Just because others are doing it doesn't mean I can do it, right? I'm not them, they're not me. And so for me, it was like, hey, this is my goal, this is what I want to get to. And I was able to kind of hit that within that time frame. And then I stuck to it and I was like, okay, great, we have something here. This is working. Let's double down. Let's double, triple. Eventually I hit 6 figures a year in the business. So I said, okay, like this is working. Let's keep doing more of it, you know? So it's really about setting yourself up with, you know, goals. So for you, you have to figure out like, hey, you know, also you have to kind of calculate like how much is this worth it for me, right? Like for me it was $2,000. For you, that could be $100 a month, right? It really depends on what your specific goals are. So if there's a certain amount that you want to make, set yourself up for that amount. Say to yourself, hey, I'm going to give myself 1 year or 2 years or 6 months, whatever that may be, and then go after it and be relentless when you go after it. Don't just like half-ass something. If you're going to have a goal, make sure you dedicate tunnel vision as much as you can. Obviously, if you have a job, you can't dedicate all your time, but anything that's not related to like after your work, you really want to zone in and tunnel vision and just go for it. Because realistically, if you're not putting the work, doesn't matter how much you want to believe, like the belief comes first, but then it's 90% action after the belief is there, right? And so have realistic goals, set yourself a time frame, go after it. For me at the time, to be honest, I have to be honest, like for me, it was like I put myself against the wall. I said, this is a do or die, right? Like I'm gonna do this regardless, right? Like for me, it was like this is the only thing I want to do, so I'm just gonna go after it. And eventually I made it. But again, if over time I didn't, you know, if I didn't have success kind of at some point, I would have eventually stopped. But again, set yourself that time frame so you don't just stop whenever you feel like it, right? You don't want to just stop because like, oh, it didn't work out for me today, so I'm just going to stop. No, like stick to it for a certain. And the worst thing that can happen is that you learn a lot of new things that you can implement on your next job, right? Like you're going to learn from that 1 year, and you think maybe like you failed in that 1 year because you didn't end up like getting this business, whatever your goals are. But you're gonna learn much more by just simply doing that. It's gonna be so much valuable to you in the long term, right? Maybe your first business doesn't hit, maybe the second one doesn't hit, but again, you just don't know what's gonna work, right? Nobody does. And so just focus on the process and just building those skills up and focus on the long-term vision and so on and so forth. Because yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. That was a very, very fine one. Thank you very much, Sim. So yeah, I think this could be our final question for tonight. Innocent, please unmute your microphone and ask.
All right. So, how do you deal with that feeling of you are like basically you learn things this fast, so you are good to start, implementing these things. But when you start taking action, it just seems like you're a fool. Like the whole thing start making you look like a fool, sort of like you're not getting it or you're not getting the process on time. I don't know if you get it.
We couldn't hear you very well. Do you mind typing out your question?
Innocence.
I'm audible now.
Hello?
Can I go on?
Yeah, go on. I think your voice is audible now.
Okay. Okay. So how do you deal with that feeling of you are good, like you are good, like you are pretty good at learning stuff, and then you learn this you are learning this thing, but then you're not getting it as as fast as as much as you want, based on how you know yourself to be. How do you deal with that feeling?
That's a good question. So how do you deal with maybe like not getting what you want, right? Maybe in the short term.
Exactly.
And the kind of is that your question essentially? A little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a good question because like look, even when you do take action, right? You may not get your end result at the time rate that you want it, right? Like for me, I'll give you an example. I remember when I first started writing copy, right? Writing one ad copy may take me like 8 hours. Like the first time was like 8 hours. Like I was just like looking at the screen, trying to type things, nothing made sense, and I was just like, oh, this sucks. Like my copy sucks. Like I'm not gonna send this to a client. He's gonna think it's shit, right? So what did I do? Well, I didn't send it to a client, but next day I showed up again and I wrote it again. And it was still shit. And then I showed up again the next day and I wrote it again. And it was shit. And I just kept showing up and kept doing things and kept taking action because there's this saying as well, like hard work will surpass talent when talent doesn't work hard, right? Oh my goodness. I'm quoting too many of these cliche things, but it's so true. So the thing is, you're not necessarily gonna get the outcome you want right away, right? That's not how life works. If life worked like that, everybody would be happy and everybody would get everything that they want, and there would be no unhappy people in the world. But that's not how life works. So again, understand that and accept that, like really deeply accept that most of the time you're not going to get what you want, right? Once you've understood that and you've internalized that, then it's just about action. Just action, showing up every single day. But just accept that if you want to get good at something, if you want to have an impact in society, if you want to make money, right? And you want to start a business or whatever that may be, you want to make money through a job, doesn't matter. Action, right? Understand that you're not going to get your way. Like, unfortunately, as humans, like we're like children and then we grow up, right? But we still have that kind of same mindset, right? Because what are we? Like, we're pound and flesh, and we're just grown up children at the end of the day. And so children, what do they want? They just want to get their way, right? Unfortunately, as you get older, you realize you can't have what you always want. And the quicker you internalize that, you will not necessarily get what you want when you want it, and you got to work for it. Then it's just about working your butt off every single day, showing up. Because eventually, if you keep at it, you will get what you want. But that's just how life works. You will not get it right away. And you have to learn how to deal with delayed gratification, essentially, right? So you just got to keep showing up. It's going to suck. Embrace the grind. Keep doing it. Eventually, the action is gonna surpass any kind of feelings, because once you get there and you get what you want, you're just gonna be like, okay, like now this is easy. What's the next thing, right? Like just keep showing up. That's the simplest but truest answer.
Thank you so much, Ms. Sim. So let's take just one final question from Zainab. I called her before, but she wasn't here. So Zainab, if you're here, please unmute your microphone quickly so we could get a question.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, you. Please go on.
Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Please
Can you
go
hear
on.
me?
Yes, yes, yes. I can.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. I truly appreciate this. I have two questions. Let me just, how do you deal with criticism? Like criticism in workplace, within family, within friends? Always looking out for, no matter how good you are or you've done something, they always look out for how to just criticize it. And it says something about mindset. No matter how you want to do good, once there's criticism, there's this setback you get, no matter how strong you want to be, you know.
Yeah.
I know critics makes us a better person, but there are some points, especially when you know you are giving out your best, you are giving all it takes, and someone out there or someone there just want to rubbish everything, you know. So how do you deal with these people that always play with your emotion, always want to talk down or just want you to feel less of yourself? One. Then my second question, it has to do with branding. How do you sell yourself out
Can
as a
we do
brand?
this? Can I answer your first question first, so I don't lose my train of thought, and then you can jump on again and ask the second question. Yeah. Sounds good.
Yes. Yeah, please go on, Ms. Sim.
All right, perfect. So yeah, so you know that question hits at my heartstrings because it's something that I have dealt with my family, especially. Like my mom, she really has like massive goals for me, right? Like my mom, she was always like, hey, you're gonna go to university, you're gonna be a doctor one day, you're gonna do X, Y, and Z. And my brother and my dad, they always had like big aspirations for me. And unfortunately, you know, when I dropped out of university, like that broke my mom's heart. Like it really shattered her dreams and aspirations for me. And it kind of splintered our relationship. It really affected our relationship negatively. And so like for my mom, like she always had such high standards for me that nothing was ever good enough, right? Like no matter what I did to please her, you know, I'll try and please her. So I'll do things to please her. And it was never good enough. And you know, now fast forward to like 6-7 years now, like she's actually very proud of me. And I'm so happy. That makes me really happy. However, right, however, you know, there's some families that maybe no matter what you do, right, like you could do everything at your optimum best. You could achieve everything your parents ever wanted you to do or your family members they ever wanted you to do, and it's still not going to be good enough, right? At a certain point, unfortunately, it's kind of sad, but you just got to stop caring about other people's view of you, right? Because unfortunately, when your family, like for me, was my mom. When my mom wanted me to be something that I was not going to be, right? It was just obvious. Like I was never going to be a doctor, for example, right? Because it just that's not how I was working out. It was just not going to happen. There comes a time where, like, for my mom, that's all she ever wanted for me, right? And where does that come from? That comes from like her own aspirations, right? Because my mom, she was never able to become a doctor herself, or like she never had the life or opportunities that I had, right? However, there comes a certain point when this is going to weigh so heavy on you that you have to do something about it, right? Like, unfortunately, this comes more to like our family members and their own insecurities, right? Because, you know, at a certain point, you got to detach their aspirations from yourself, right? Like you can't let your family drag you down, even if you do the best that you can do. You really got to just let them deal with their own insecurities. Like you're not going to be able to change your parents no matter what you do. Like if my mom still to this day would not be proud of me and I wouldn't be able to change that, I'd have to live with that to some degree. But also I can't let the way she thinks of me and her aspirations and the way she wants me to live my life, like I can't let that affect me, because that says more about her than me, right? Like, let's say I didn't become successful, right? And my mom was still angry at me. I would have to just, I'd have to just kind of say to myself, hey, this is her own insecurity, and this is something that she has to deal with, and she probably has to go therapy and deal with this on her own, because it says more about her than me, right? And so at a certain point, you have to detach yourself from that. And I know, for example, because I have like a Nigerian friends, and I know some Nigerian people, and their parents, they have high standards of them. And sometimes people won't be able to hit their standards. But you have to understand that a lot of that comes from, more of an insecurity and from the people that want you to hit those goals, as opposed to yourself, because you just won't be able to please everyone, unfortunately, and that's just the reality of things. And so just do your best. You only have one life, so the only thing you can do is do your best, right? And if you make it, great. If you don't, it is what it is. But at the end of the day, you live with your consequences of your own life, right? Like, your parents, they're not going to live your life. So for me, at a certain point, I had to make a choice. Like, do I live the life that my parents want me to live, or do I live the true, honest life that I want to live? And I have to live my best life, right? I can't live the life that my parents want me just because they want me to do that, Like, at a certain point, you have to detach yourself from your parents and have your own identity and live your own life. And that's kind of the gist of that.
Thank you very much.
And if you want to go ahead and ask the last and final question as well, Zainab, I hope that answers your question, by the way.
Yeah, thanks a lot. That answered my question. So my second question, talking about branding, I
Sure.
learned branding is about perception. So how do you bring out this value that will make to trust you, to be able to work with you, maybe online and offline? What make you a unique brand? What value are you adding? Or what is that thing that you need to do, those process you need to take for you to be unique? Maybe sales or whatever. Just how can you add value to make you stand out?
That's a very good question. So the thing about branding is, like, it's the same question as, like, what comes first? Like, the brand or the product, right? Like, the chicken or the egg? Kind of like a chicken and egg problem, right? Because it's like, okay, I want to build an amazing brand, but I don't have much to show for it. And, I haven't done that much, like, I haven't become this amazing product or service that I would like to become an amazing brand. And it really, to become an amazing brand, it really comes down to one thing, right? It's results. Are you providing what you say you provide, right? If you're gonna say, hey, I'm gonna sell you this toy, right? And it's gonna look exactly like this specifics, and you say to people, hey, I'm selling you this toy, right? And people are buying that toy, and when they get the toy, it's not what it should look like. Then people are gonna say, okay, you're lying to us. This is false advertising. Your brand is bullshit. This is not a real brand. Don't buy from this person, right? Like, brand comes down to the result. It really comes down to the results at the end of the day, right? Like, why do people buy like Gucci and Louis Vuitton? To some degree, it's because of the years, the decades of like brand building. But at the end of the day, when these brands first established themselves, right, it really came down to quality. When Louis Vuitton came around and they made their infamous like bags that people would travel with, they were different. They were good quality. They were better than everything else that was out there at the time, right? And so now we know Louis Vuitton as like this massive brand. But again, when it first started, they were just making these great bags. And then over time, they kept selling them, making the product better and better. And now they kind of piggybacked off that initial first product. And now everybody is like, knows them, right? Same with Tesla, right? Tesla, they built their electric cars, and they were the amazing cars right in the beginning, right? They had only one model. It was like $100,000, and it did exactly what it said on the tin it would do, right? So again, building brand, I think the kind of branding is a bit overrated. it really comes down to the results, right? Are you providing exactly what you say you're doing? If you're not able to do that, or if you haven't already done that, then get to doing it, get the results, because even for any kind of business, right? You got to start somewhere, and you got to start with the beginnings, the early stages. Is going to be hard. You're not going to be able to build proof as fast. But again, start somewhere, start building, keep building, and over time your brand will build itself up. But it's all about the results. It's really, really comes down to the results and providing value. If you're not providing the value that you say you're going to provide, then people are not going to trust you. And if you don't have proven results, people are not going to trust you. So what's the best way to build those results is by going out there and doing it and starting small and maybe charging less in the beginning. So you have a pricing advantage and just putting yourself out there and getting results. And then also one big thing is you want to document those results, right? Like, don't just like I did this for years. This was one of my biggest mistakes running my agency, is that I'll get results for clients, but I never documented it. So it was like as if this never existed, right? It's like saying if there was a forest somewhere in the world out there and a tree falls right now, like, and you don't see it, did it really happen? Like, the tree may have fallen, but if you don't see it with your own eyes, or if nobody films it, it's like it never happened, right? So if you get results for people, whether it's small or big, document it, make it into a case study, make it into a testimonial of some sorts. Like for me, one big thing is I built like a vault of testimonials. So we have like 15, 20 clients saying, hey, Missim is great at X, Y, and Z. He did this for us. He did that for us. And now I just send this to clients and I say, hey, I'm not going to tell you how good I am. I'm going to let other people tell you how good I am, right? That's the brand. Boom. That's how you do
it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for the question.
Thank you very, very much, Missim. I want to believe that everybody who attended this webinar today got like serious value. Like, I'll call this value overload. Plenty values on their heads, and I'm very, very confident that they're going to leave this call fully equipped to, kickstart some serious progress in their lives. Now, everything we've discussed, I truly believe that we're not going to start off 2023 the same way we're starting our previous years, because roughly we understand areas where we might have been falling behind. We understand that, okay, there's this shifts in mindsets that we have to embody in order for us to do even better, focus on processes rather than particular outcomes to short the time, the sort of things. So yeah, we'll be making this recording available. It was actually recorded. We're making this recording available to everybody after the call, maybe sometime tomorrow, actually. But yeah, so just to wrap up, Missim, is there anything you would like to say before we call it a night?
Yeah, I mean, just thanks to everyone that showed up. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got value out of it. I know it was a bit rambly and ranty, but I hope my message came across to you guys. Because honestly, like for me, the main reason why I did this is just to kind of give back. Like, I don't get to do this that often. Most of the time, I'm just working by myself with my team and just focusing on helping clients and just doing my day-to-day life stuff. So it's great to give back and just like share stuff that people just don't really talk about. This stuff, like I don't see it online myself. Like very few influencers out there like talk about the real experience of what it's like to run a business or the reality of like trying to achieve your goals but falling face first into the ground, right? So I hope you got value out of it. And when I was starting my journey, I wish I had somebody like being dishonest and just saying it how it is, and that's just how I like to do things. Like I'm just cold honesty. That's the best. That's the best way I find. And yeah, thanks so much to everyone that joined, and thank you so much for your questions. And I hope I was able to give some value. And yeah, let's kill 2023. Let's do it.
So yeah, we're gonna call it a night now, guys. Do you have anything you want to say to me? Saying thank you or anything at all? Put it in the comment section. You could send your messages later, and I'll be sure to forward it all to him. All right, so Rita is saying, God's great insights today. Thanks, Miss Sim and Justice. Adedoyin is saying, thank you, Miss Sim and Justice. The session is really invaluable. Oh, definitely it is. All right, guys. So thank you so much. We're going to call it a night. Oh, Caleb. Thank you, Caleb. Tabitha, thank you. Okay, so guys, we'll talk soon. Good night, everyone. Stay safe.
Have a happy holidays and happy New Year, everyone. Bye.